At 10:14 a.m., my wife sat across from me at our kitchen table and said she needed a break. At 12:27 p.m., I watched her Instagram story with the sound off, my coffee going cold in my hand, and felt something inside me quietly collapse. She didn't cry when she said it. That was the first thing that scared me. No shaking voice, no trembling hands. Just calm. Too calm. Like she'd already rehearsed the moment in her head and was finally relieved to deliver her lines. She stared past me, not at me, tracing the grain of the wood table we'd picked out together years earlier. I just need space, she said. A few days. Maybe a week. I need to clear my head. I remember nodding like I understood, like this was reasonable. Like marriages could be paused the way movies are when someone needs the bathroom. I told her okay. I told her to take the time she needed. I even told her I loved her. She smiled at that, but it didn't reach her eyes. It felt like saying goodbye without knowing it was goodbye. She packed an overnight bag with the efficiency of someone late for a flight. Phone charger, makeup pouch, that denim jacket I always liked. She didn't kiss me when she left. Just a quick hug, polite, careful, like we were co-workers navigating an awkward hallway. When the door closed, the house felt enormous. Too quiet. I wandered from room to room pretending to straighten things that didn't need fixing. I told myself not to spiral. People took breaks all the time, right? This didn't mean anything. This was healthy, mature, temporary. I tried to work, but my laptop screen blurred. My mind kept replaying the past year like a highlight reel I didn't want to watch. The late nights she blamed on stress. The way her phone never left her hand. How she'd started showering the second she got home, like she was washing something off herself. I had noticed. Of course I had. I just didn't want to accuse the woman I loved of being capable of hurting me. Around noon, I poured a second cup of coffee I didn't need and sat on the couch, scrolling aimlessly on my phone. Muscle memory took over. I opened Instagram without thinking. And there it was. A new circle glowing at the top of my screen. Her profile picture, outlined in that soft gradient that suddenly felt aggressive. She hadn't posted in weeks. I told myself not to tap it. I even locked my phone for a second, set it face down on the table, tried to breathe. But curiosity is louder than reason when your heart is already leaning over the edge. I picked it back up and pressed play. The first clip was harmless enough. A car window down, sunlight flashing across her face, music playing, some upbeat song she'd never listened to around me. She was smiling, really smiling, the kind I hadn't seen in months. The caption read, "Much needed reset." My stomach tightened, but I kept watching. The next clip shifted. A rooftop bar. I recognized it instantly. We'd driven past it dozens of times, always saying we'd go someday. Glasses clinking. Laughter. Her laughter. The camera panned, just for a second too long, and there was a man's hand resting on the table beside hers. Casual. Familiar. No ring. I felt heat rush to my face, then drain away just as fast. The final slide was a photo. Not posed, not accidental. Her reflection in a mirror behind her, city lights stretching out below, her head tilted slightly toward someone just out of frame. The caption was simple. One word. Free. I stared at that word until it stopped looking real. 2 hours. That's all it took. 2 hours between "I need space" and broadcasting her escape to the world. I didn't know who the man was. I didn't know where she was staying. What I did know was that whatever this break was supposed to be, it didn't include me in the way I thought it did. I set my phone down and sat there, unmoving, as the realization crept in slowly, painfully. This wasn't a pause. It was a head start. And I was the only one who hadn't known the race had already begun. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. I told myself there could be explanations. But deep down, in the place where denial can't reach, I felt it settle into my bones. The break hadn't started that morning. It had just finally been announced to me. I didn't confront her. Not that day. I sat there for a long time after the screen went dark, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of a lawn mower somewhere down the block. Ordinary noises from a life that suddenly felt like it no longer belonged to me. I replayed the story again and again. Each time, I noticed something new. The way her smile lingered a second too long. The confidence in her posture. The absence of hesitation. This wasn't someone unsure or conflicted. This was someone stepping into something she'd already decided on. I wanted to text her. I even typed the words, "Is there something you want to tell me?" before deleting them. Then I saw your story. Deleted that too. Every message felt like handing over the last scraps of my dignity. So I put the phone down and did the hardest thing I could think of in that moment. Nothing. By late afternoon, my emotions had burned themselves out, leaving behind a strange, hollow clarity. I took a shower I didn't need, changed my clothes, and went for a long walk through the neighborhood. Houses blurred together. Couples passed me holding hands, laughing, living inside realities that still made sense. I kept thinking about the word free, how casually she'd used it, as if I'd been a cage instead of a partner, as if the years we'd spent building a life were just walls she'd finally climbed over. That evening, she finally texted, "I hope you're okay. I just need time. Please don't read into things." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Don't read into things. As if I hadn't just watched her broadcast her liberation to hundreds of people while I sat alone in the house we shared. As if context didn't exist. I replied with one word. Okay. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't agreement. It was survival. That night, sleep refused to come. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, noticing details I'd ignored for years. A faint crack near the corner. A shadow from the streetlight that looked like a hand reaching across the wall. Her side of the bed was untouched, the pillow still holding the shape of her head from the night before. Sometime after midnight, I did something I'm not proud of. I went back to her Instagram. The comments were already piling up. Heart emojis. Fire emojis. Friends cheering her on. You deserve this. So proud of you. Living your best life. People I'd shared dinners with. People who had toasted our anniversary just months earlier. None of them asked where I was. I clicked on one profile I didn't recognize. A man. His account was public. Gym photos. Travel shots. And then, buried a few rows down, a picture from the same rooftop bar. Same glass railing. Same skyline. Posted weeks ago. The date hit me harder than anything else. This hadn't started today. Suddenly, the past rearranged itself with brutal precision. The work trips that didn't line up. The sudden obsession with fitness. The emotional distance she blamed on stress. I saw it all clearly now, like a picture coming into focus after your eyes finally stop lying to you. By morning, I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't stay in that house pretending I was just waiting patiently for my wife to find herself. I packed a small bag. Not because I was leaving her, but because I needed to leave the version of myself that kept hoping this would resolve neatly. I wrote her a note. Short, calm, honest. I'm giving you the space you asked for. I'm also giving myself the respect I forgot to demand. We'll talk when we're both ready to be honest. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't be there when she decided what story she wanted to tell next. As I closed the door behind me, I realized something unsettling but true. That Instagram story hadn't just shown me what she was doing. It had shown me who she'd already stopped being. I stayed with my brother that first night, sleeping on a couch that smelled like laundry detergent and old memories. He didn't ask questions. He just handed me a beer, nodded once, and let the silence do the work. I appreciated that more than he knew. Words, at that point, felt dangerous. Like if I said the wrong one out loud, the whole thing would become real in a way I wasn't ready for. The next morning, I woke up early, disoriented for a split second before everything rushed back in. The break. The story. The word free. I checked my phone before I even sat up, half hoping I'd imagined it all. She hadn't messaged. Instead, there was another Instagram story. This one was shorter. A boomerang of clinking coffee mugs. Sunlight. Two hands again. Hers, and the same unfamiliar one. No faces. No names. Just enough ambiguity to feel intentional. The caption read, "Morning clarity." I laughed then, not because it was funny, but because my body didn't know what else to do. There was something surreal about watching your marriage dissolve in 15-second increments, edited with filters and set to music. That's when I realized this wasn't just about her leaving. It was about control. She was curating a narrative in real time, and I was the silent character written out between slides. The husband on a break. The inconvenient detail. Later that afternoon, she finally called. I let it ring twice before answering, just to remind myself I still had choices. "You didn't respond to my text," she said, like I was the one who'd done something confusing. "I saw your stories," I replied. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. There was a pause, just long enough to be revealing. "I told you not to read into it," she said. "I'm just trying to breathe." Does breathing usually involve someone else's hand? I asked, not accusing, just tired. She exhaled sharply. I didn't plan to hurt you. That sentence landed heavier than any admission could have, because it wasn't a denial. We talked in circles after that. Or maybe she did. I mostly listened. She said she'd been unhappy for a long time, that she felt invisible, that she didn't know who she was anymore. Familiar lines, delivered softly, like apologies without consequences. I asked her one question. Just one. How long has he been in your life? Another pause. Longer this time. Does it matter? She said. And there it was. The moment something fundamental shifted. Not dramatically, quietly, like a door closing in another room. Yes, I said. It matters to me. She didn't answer. And in that silence, I got everything I needed. After we hung up, I sat alone in my brother's kitchen, staring at a magnet on the fridge that said home is where the heart is. I thought about how often I'd ignored my own discomfort to keep the peace. How many times I'd convinced myself that love meant enduring confusion without asking for clarity. That night, I didn't check her social media. Instead, I opened a blank note on my phone and started writing things down. Not accusations, not evidence, just truths. What I felt, what I'd accepted, what I would no longer pretend was okay. I didn't know where this was going yet. I just knew that whatever came next, it couldn't be built on half answers and curated happiness. For the first time since that morning at the kitchen table, I slept. Not well, but honestly. And that felt like a beginning. 2 days later, she broke the silence. Not with a call, not with an apology, with another message that tried to sound gentle while quietly protecting her exit. I think we should talk about what this break means long-term. I read it twice before replying. I agree. We met at a cafe halfway between our places, neutral ground, like diplomats negotiating the end of a small country. She looked rested. Lighter. That stung more than I expected. She hugged me when she arrived, instinctively, then pulled back as if remembering the role she'd assigned herself. She talked first. About growth. About honesty. About how sometimes love changes shape. She said she hadn't meant for things to overlap. That it just happened. That the Instagram stories were her trying to feel alive again, not trying to hurt me. I listened. I really did. And for the first time, I noticed something important. She never once asked how I was doing. When she finally paused, waiting for my response, I told her the truth. Not angrily, not dramatically. I told her that seeing her story 2 hours after she asked for a break didn't just hurt, it clarified. That it showed me this wasn't confusion. It was momentum. That whatever she needed space from, she'd already moved toward something else. She looked down at her cup, stirred it even though there was nothing left to mix. I didn't think you'd see it so quickly, she said. That was it. That was the sentence that ended us. Not I'm sorry. Not I handled it wrong. Just a quiet admission that the only mistake, in her mind, was my timing. I told her I wasn't interested in being the man who waits patiently while his wife auditions a new life in public. I told her I loved her, but I loved myself enough now to stop negotiating for basic respect. There were tears then. Real ones. On both sides. We talked logistics. Practical things. Painful things. The kind of conversation you don't imagine when you say I do, but eventually have anyway. When we stood to leave, she asked if we could keep things amicable. I said I hoped so. And I meant it. Bitterness would have been easier, but it wasn't who I wanted to become. That night, I went back to my brother's place and opened Instagram one last time. Her story was still there. Same rooftop. Same lights. Same word. Free. I didn't block her. I didn't comment. I didn't explain my side to anyone. I just muted her. Weeks later, people asked what happened. I kept it simple. We grew apart. The truth didn't need embellishment. I didn't need an audience. What I learned, slowly, was this. Closure doesn't come from confrontations or perfect explanations. Sometimes it comes from a moment so clear it rewrites everything you thought you knew. For me, it was an Instagram story posted 2 hours too soon. It showed me that love without consideration isn't love, it's convenience. And that letting go, while painful, can be the first honest thing you do for yourself in a long time. I don't know where she is now. I hope she found what she was looking for. As for me, I stopped watching other people's stories. I started writing my own.